Welcome, Wouter. Thank you for joining us and discussing some of this year's Rising Star Monitor's particularly intriguing findings. And you, as the previous founder of Ugentech and now Chief Product Officer of Versera, you're the perfect person to take us through this. And one of those intriguing findings that I wanted to discuss with you was actually the average age of the workforce that we see being employed by young scale-ups. And that tends to be pretty young. To give you some stats, we see that roughly 20% of the workforce is younger than 25, which I consider very young, and only 7% is actually over 50 years old. So I was wondering, if you look at that, average workforce being so young, is that a pattern you recognize from the early days at Ugentech?
Yes, definitely. Also, our workforce was in the beginning much younger than it is today, and that's also what I see in other startups. So today it's more a mix of seniority, and I think that's also the strength of the company in the end. But also definitely in our case, we started with a much younger workforce.
And when you say mix, I kind of hear that that's kind of a deliberate choice. Why? Why did you go for that mix?
Yes, it's definitely a more deliberate choice. I really believe in the strength of having young people that understand fully the world of today, are the innovators, and then the more senior people that bring in seniority, bring in experience, bring in their network. And if you can combine them together, then they can inspire each other. And I think they can really build the most successful companies in a way that you make the least mistakes.
Yeah, it's the best of both worlds in a way.
Definitely.
And so when you say pretty young in the beginning, do you have an idea of how young your average employees were?
In the beginning, the average age was around 30, 35, something like that.
And now?
It will be probably between 35 and 40.
Okay, so you went up a little bit.
A little bit.
Was there a specific stage when you started hiring more senior people?
In the growth step from startup to scale up, we added a couple of more senior leaders to the team, and I think that was mainly the reason why the average age increased a little bit.
Okay, so I hear you say leadership, and that's actually something that we hear a lot of scale-ups saying, right? At some point they realize we need those more senior hires to kind of professionalize the firm a bit. But I also hear a lot of scale-ups saying they're struggling to find them. Any tips that you can share in terms of where to find those hidden gems?
You can quite often find people that have the experience of working in large corporates and that have the experience of how you drive growth and have a corporate network in a certain market. My experience is that the most successful experiences are when you find people that have the experience of working in young companies, in fast-growing companies, and as well bring the experience and seniority of large corporate environments. Because if they have both, they really can combine these skills and experience into accelerating the growth of the company, and that's really valuable. Mm-hmm. That's what drives growth in the most accelerated way. But as well, it's adding the experience to make the least mistakes, which is of course important as well from a capital efficiency perspective, mm-hmm. from the speed you can take and the growth that you can handle as a company. So that's my advice mainly.
So you would advise against hiring that big shot from a big corporate name. Why?
I like the mix of both. In Ugentech and in Versera, we have very strong young people that are very ambitious, very talentful in what they add to our company. But as well, we have senior leaders that bring the experience on how you manage and structure growth. And that big shot is from a corporate. That's not the solution. The solution is the combination of both and making sure that they inspire each other and work closely together to maximize the growth of the company. That's
okay. And is there anything specific, because you first mentioned I prefer people that at least have some experience having worked in a scale-up before. Is there then anything specific about working in a scale-up that you feel this is really important for people to bring to the table?
Yes, definitely. I think it's people that have worked for a company that is a startup or a scale-up, they know that when you want to drive growth and want to build something, you have to start from zero. You have to fill the gaps that are there. You need to use your experience and your network to drive these relationships and open doors, whatever. But as well, you need to make sure that you do the groundwork that is needed, and people that were successful before in a context like that, I think they have shown that they understand the context, that they understand what it means to work in a fast-growing company where you need to build the plane while you're already flying, and that like that, and that have proven that they are successful in a context like that.
So getting their hands dirty, a bit of proactivity rather than reactivity. Okay.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Maybe another question I would have, given the struggle that scale-up founders tend to have in finding these people, how do you then convince them to join this young scale-up that they might not yet have heard about?
Yeah, in some cases, you really need to take somebody out of the golden cage to join you. It's when I was able to successfully do it, was mainly about showing them the opportunity, showing them the potential that we had within the company, and showing them that the experience and the things they can learn from being part of that growth journey. And I think if people want to leave because of the right reason, and they see that opportunity, potential, they see the pace and the acceleration that you are driving as a company, I think that's what should make them excited to really join and become part of the team.
Yeah, so that personal growth story in a way.
Yes.
And so we've talked about, okay, where do you find them? How do you convince them to join? You also, of course, once they join, you want to keep them preferably. And there I'm wondering what your view is. There's some research that would suggest that if you hire more senior people, oftentimes they tend to come in at leadership positions, so they kind of become the new bosses, right? That could create some frustration, some resentment from the people that were there from day one. What's your view, or your tips maybe even better, on kind of how do you successfully integrate those senior hires?
It's definitely that you need to make sure that you have a mix of young and more experienced people at each layer of an organization. I think that's definitely the thing that you need to try to achieve. In practice, if it feels like integrating the seniors with the more junior people, the younger with the older, then I think you're not on the right track. They need to inspire each other, and they need to find each other, and they need to have respect for each other. And if they find each other, and if they can learn from each other and they can inspire each other, then that working together, that collaboration between both is going out of the box in the right way. So it all starts with the right recruitment, making sure there is a mix on each layer, and then I think it's making sure that they are successful together.
Yeah, it's that mutual respect and, in
Definitely,
a way, inspiration for one another, which I think is a beautiful message to close off with. So thank you, Wouter, for having joined us.
You're welcome.